you are the owner of Remote Control 2.0?
2.0.
Where does the 2.0 come from?
Because I started this the first time we sold Infectious.
Who's we?
Corder and I.
Corder who?
God. Okay, I knew it was going to be like this. I ran a record label called Infectious Records, which it was at that time.
Can't be rude and ask which year.
We started it in sort of 95, 96. And then we got sold. We had various investors. Mushroom was part of them. We worked for News Corp for a while, which was interesting.
Interesting.
And then News Corp got bored of having a record label and didn't understand what to do with it, so they sold us to Warner's.
Sorry, did you say Terra Firma didn't know what to do with a record label and sold it?
No, News Corp.
Sorry.
News Corp. Similar. So I didn't fancy going into Warner's. Corder Marshall, who was my partner in crime and has been for years, he's still one of my closest friends. In fact, he called me about 30 seconds ago. He must be psychic that I'm going to be talking about him. Corder obviously went in and took over sort of the main label, Warner's. I, having sort of run shit and been general manager and sort of queen of knowing very little about a lot of different things, didn't really fancy being a product manager in a room. So I sort of didn't really know what to do, but I just chose not to go to Warner's. At that time, there wasn't a thing called label services or any of that sort of stuff, but there were lots of labels that needed help. Mm-hmm. So just by default, I started helping out friends of mine that were running overseas labels or small labels that wanted some advice, and just helping them do this and giving them advice about doing that. And in the end, I was sort of like, actually, this is taking up quite a lot of time. Can you pay me? And they were like, yeah, actually, it's probably worth it. Yes. So out of that, it was pretty much the first sort of label services, label management company. This was in 2000, which I kind of started by mistake.
Perfect. Love that. And it was almost a reflection of just not wanting to go as the path that had been put in front of you.
It was that having already worked in the industry for like 12 years, it was sort of the best use of me and what I knew and what I'd done. You know, I started off in management donkeys years ago at 19 with Simon Fuller. I was employee number 3. After Terry Hall, the publicist, who was Terry Gould as then, she was number 2 and still one of my bezies. And then I was number 3 and pretended I could type, which was a lie. I spent the entire first day trying to type a letter.
Amazing.
It wasn't. It didn't go down very well.
It's like lying about your height, isn't it? You get found out pretty quickly.
It's fairly swift. So it was just the best use of what I could do. It just happened. It happened organically. One of my favourite words.
Yeah.
And I've loved it, and I've loved it ever since.
And what do you like best? So one of the questions I want to get to is the grass is always greener element of doing your own thing. But for now, what is it you like about doing your own thing? Why does it suit you?
I don't have anybody to argue with.
That save a lot of time.
It's not just that. It's it's being able to literally be nimble, to do what I want to do, to be the best of me. I'm not great at conforming to a system, really. I mean, it's fine. I think they're very important, and I love, and I've seen, having worked at BMG for 3 years and worked within a big company, I'm very, very glad I did that because I learned an awful lot of being part of a big company and having to do things this way and dealing with a business affairs department and the accounts department and, other people making decisions for you. And that's fine, and it's very important. For me, what I do best is the knee-jerk, creative, fuck it, let's do this tomorrow thing.
Amazing.
And it's harder to do that as part of a bigger company, I think.
Interesting. And so now doing your own thing, do you get to just do that, or is there a load of other stuff you have to do? Because that creative spark, that tip of the sword stuff is incredible, but it's not something one band needs all the time. You spark.
Yeah, but that's always the case. I mean, you still get a sort of. I mean, I've taught myself how to do Dropbox, right? I actually, when we were delayed at the airport, I did some Dropbox filing. Okay, major win. So things like that. It's actually a minor. It's nice to be able to do that. For me, anyway, because I'd never done it. People did it for me for the last sort of 7 years or so. Well, Darren helped me.
And so there's a question. So having got to a certain level, were you VP, SVP marketing, BMG?
SVP, darling, SVP.
Yeah, I knew that. I just didn't want to make a fool of myself. It went the other way. SVP of Marketing at BMG.
He's the brandy.
I was going to say, which one are we drinking later? There is a challenge when you step out on your own because you've got to do everything suddenly. So having said you're good at lots of little things, how did you find the challenge recently stepping back out?
Well, it was like going home. Because that's how I always was before when I did Infectious the first time round. And the second time, to be honest.
Can you just explain what happened to make the second time possible?
Oh, yes. Corder and I went out and had a bottle of red wine the day after he'd been to see a temper trap for the first time. And we were still, both of us are still very, very close to an Australian chap called Michael Gudinski, who's this sort of massive promoter and owns Mushroom and the whole group of companies in Australia.
Mushroom, big music publisher, big touring company, Frontier Touring as well, for those who are not Australians.
And he's sort of like the Richard Branson meets Harvey Goldsmith of Australia, really, in a way. He's a larger-than-life character. I love him to pieces. And he'd asked Corder to help. He had this great band called Temper Trap and to sort something out and get them a deal in the UK. We just started talking about, well, to be honest, there's nobody that could do it better than him and me.
Love that.
So Infectious, the second, we thought, oh, sod it, let's just start it again. And so Infectious, the second time round, was a client of Remote Control 1.0. And then just grew and grew. But it was just Corder and I, and Corder didn't want to get an office again. And I was pointing out the fact that all the promo stock was in my lounge, and which kind of wasn't going down that well. So, we just needed we needed a base. So, but that, again, it was him and me and doing everything. I've always prided myself on never asking anybody to do anything that I couldn't do myself. Now, in the digital world and in the last 7 years or so, I've lost that a bit.
Yeah.
But I'm now reteaching myself. But I was still and still am. I defy anybody to sticker a 7-inch faster than me, particularly with the wrong barcode on.
Karen, a race later?
Okay, there's a challenge.
Hang on, but you two know each other. How has this not happened until now? Fast forward tomorrow, midday. I'm going to see what I can do. So, what advice would you give to someone starting up on their own now, looking to leave a big company and possibly go their own way? What advice would you give?
Be sure you know what you're doing. Really, care about it. Know what you want to do. Don't have a sort of having said that, it just happened organically the first time round. But that was chance and luck. It was a time. Know what you want to do. So think, okay, I'm going to set out to do this. Make sure that you've got some customers or some clients or a way of making it work. At least one or two just to start it off. So you've got a base. Accounts, it's key, people. It's key. Don't just swing it. I got into trouble the first time round. I did have financial problems because the tax thing. Oh, I'll just borrow a bit here and borrow a bit there and do all that. Don't do that. It's bad.
The UK, especially for the tax thing, is horrific.
Yeah, but
more on that later.
Yeah, but just don't. So do that. Set yourself up properly. Don't spend money on assistants, and you don't need an office that much. There's until you can pay for it. And that's the key thing, because you'll put yourself under so much stress by trying to run before you walk. And yes, it'd be lovely if you had somebody that did the metadata in terms of what I do. Okay, I don't know what the equivalent would be in your various industries, but did the metadata or booked your appointments for you. You don't need that. You don't need it yet. Do it small and grow it and take a big breath and enjoy it. Love it.
Okay, but how do you enjoy it? How do you get through the rough bits? Because there must have been some interesting times on all these journeys. Like, in terms of enjoying what you do you have a core thing you go back to that reminds you why you do it? Like, do you have a values or a vision, or is it just, I'm no longer excited by this bit? How do you define almost what it is you do? From there's lots of little bits you could do, how do you know what's right for you?
Well, music.
Yeah.
The music first and foremost. Although, to be fair, I have worked a lot of music that wasn't my heart and soul. I'm not a dance music person. I think everybody that knows me knows that. I found that one of my clients' first remote control time, Laurent Garnier and FCOM, I discovered they did their A&R by the fact that if I actually liked a track, they shouldn't release it because it would be naff. And actually, I was just like, you never put out the things I like. And they were like, yeah, there's a reason for that. So, it's not that, but if you get it, you see what you can do and you have a vision and you can see it through. And that's it for me. And you get things that connect and that are fantastic to work and, are successful and wonderful. And then there's some things that don't connect, but you're still proud as punch when you see the band on stage or you have a small win. Sometimes the small wins are just as good as the big wins. You're working with a massive act. It's a problem when you don't get a front cover. Yes. You're working a small act and you get a review and you're dancing around the room, your first review. So it's small wins and it's different things.
Okay, and in terms of value proposition, you were in a position where you had a skill set, it had been proven in the big bad major label world and Infectious before. You step out, you help some friends. How did you have the "and you should probably pay me" conversation?
Sort of rang them up and said, can you pay me for that? It just started to dawn on me. It just started to dawn on me that, hang on, there was a niche here. I'd also watched Mushroom try and set themselves up as a label in the UK previously when we started Infectious. Basically, Corder started Infectious, I joined him, and then Mushroom bought half of us because they realised they were spending a fortune on offices in the King's Road and moving lots of people that work for Mushroom Australia over to London, but what they didn't have was any expertise whatsoever in the UK music industry. Mm-hmm. So with Corder, they brought in sort of two people that could give them that experience. So that made a lot of sense to me. So it was to sort of try and give labels a experience without having to pay for somebody full time. So I could see how it could work. A bit of me was worth, worth them investing in, rather than employing somebody full time when it wasn't needed. It wasn't a full time job. It was only a day a week job. Gotcha. So that's why I'd had that experience and seen that niche.
Interesting. And what's next for Pat Carr?
Oh, God knows. Genuinely,
yeah,
I don't know.
No, fair.
That's the fun. For me now, that's it. I have been doing this a long time, as you keep telling me in the lead up to this. I was like, it sounds like an obituary.
No, I was telling you how great you were. What?
No, bless you. But I don't know. And I think that's it. It's waking up and going, who knows? What's going to happen? And that's the joy, isn't it?
Well, and that's an uncertainty that's difficult to live with sometimes. Like for some,
I've got,
I suppose what I'm aiming at is that the freelance thing isn't for everybody, and that's okay.
It's not. I mean, it is. You're either you're panicking because you've got too much work, or you're panicking because you've not got enough. It's feast or famine. You're like, oh my God, can I take it on? I really love it. Or shall I do that just for the money? No, don't do that. That's another thing, actually. Just keep quality in all what you're doing. Keep quality first and foremost. I once, during a bad period of remote control, the first time took on a client that I shouldn't have done. But there was a daddy and he was rich, and they were sort of, say, we'll pay you this, please do it, we'll pay you this. And I did it. And the first gig I took them to, I took my team of people that, I trust, and I took them to me, and literally 30 seconds in, I could just see these eyes boring into my head, and they were like, Pat, how much are they paying you?
Yeah.
And I bailed. I gave them the money back, pretty immediately, because it wasn't right. It wasn't fair to them, it wasn't fair to me, and it wasn't fair to the rest of my clients. And I think that's something as well, that don't panic. You can always go and work in a bleeding pub until it gets right. You can always make money. You can always go in a coffee shop. Do you know what I mean? Do that rather than do the wrong thing. And I did that. I waitressed. I was a bloody awful waitress, but so it was always in short bursts. But I did. I waitressed when I needed to. Amazing. And I'd go back and do that again rather than do the wrong job now.
Amazing. That's gold dust. That's so important. I've definitely taken on clients, and 10 minutes in you go, oh, why? Yeah. And in terms of knowing the difference between the client you should and the client you shouldn't, and I'm getting a big smile from a consulting friend at the back who's like, yeah. When you're doing it wrong. You will feel like, I'm forcing this because, or you'll tell yourself it's okay because. Certainly in my experience, the mistakes I've made have been entirely predictable. Yeah. And 10 minutes after you push the button, you're like, shit. It totally happens. So following your instincts, I think, is good.
It's key. It's key. And you'll learn to do that more. And also, by the way, make mistakes. Fuck up, lots. Do it. Because if you're not making mistakes and you're just doing the same thing again and again, try not to make them epic, but,
But
that's fine to do as well, you know.
And there are good mistakes to make and there are bad mistakes to make. Like
Yeah.
the giant mistakes, the risk your company to take a flyer on something mistakes, you probably get to make them once and you're done. Careful with those mistakes.
Yeah.
But the try your hand at something, yeah, I back myself, I think I could do that, yeah, I'd have a go. Fail fast, fail forward, other cliches.
Yeah, but it's true, you know, and be honest. Be honest with people. It's like, okay, not sure, but let's give it a go. I think I can do this. And, you know, honesty as well. Look, be able to look people in the eyes and be honest, you know. I mean, I think, hopefully, that's what people say about me. I always ask people, sort of, you know, they say, well, you know, who have you done or whatever. I'm just like, ask about me. And that's the best thing, you know, and that's how I work with other people as well. You know, I don't want to get a piece of paper with a load of, you know, quotes on. Just ask around. And I think you always do that. Just keep yourself true and be nice to people.
And how important is reputation, therefore, overall, like your reputation in the industry?
Key. I do think it's key. And I think it's key for your own self-worth, you know, which is important. And I think it's a very small industry, whatever pocket of it you're in, you know. And, you know, if I totally make a pig's ear of a campaign, you know, but it's me that's fucked it up, or I take on too many acts and, you know, people can't get hold of me when they need me, or I'm not doing the job properly because I'm too busy, I'm obviously prioritising other things, then people will know, you know, and people will say, oh yeah, I love Pat, but she's a bit busy at the moment, or did you see, you know, she's losing her grip now, getting a bit old, you know. But, you know, they will. And so you've just got to keep on the top of your game and be honest with people and just go, look, I'd love to do it, but I'm too busy. Or, you know, this, or I don't think I can help you, but so-and-so can. Or, you know, maybe you need to think again or whatever. Just be honest. Be able to look people in the eyes. I think it's one of my things.
Amazing. So if I was to rudely recap, because I'm getting the chatterbox sign from my team at the back.
Or from me?
No, from me. I've spent all day kicking people off this stage to stay on schedule. I'm like, I have a nice chat. I've got a gin now. I'm happy. To quickly recap then, when you step out, make sure you've got a plan, ideally a couple of clients in place. You don't... Yeah. When you do an accountant or an account system or a way of managing that side of things. Don't ignore the money thing because it will bite you rather hard.
It will.
And then once you've got yourself out, manage your reputation, be honest with people, build rapport, build relationships, and hopefully they keep coming back and hopefully you get to keep doing what you love.
And tell people about what you're doing, you know. Blow your own trumpet. Be proud. Be proud of what you do.
Okay, last question. What are you proud of this week from what you've done the last week or three?
I haven't had so much to do with it, but I mean, I missed Ellie's speech on the Idols, but that was an amazing thing to do. And just working that was, as I said, I had very little to do with it. Mostly I stayed in the background and went, yes, you know what you're doing, do it more. That's good, carry on doing exactly that. I think that's good. That's what do I think? Lots, I mean, yeah, lots. Yeah, all my little clients are doing.
And you're out for a beer with us tonight?
I may. Yes.
Okay.
And then some of us old ones may crawl off and have something to eat. And then
nonsense.
We might come back.
Perfect. Well, if anyone's got questions, they can ask you.
Please
over a drink.
do. I'm always, listen, as you can tell, I like talking, so I'm quite happy to give advice to anybody about anything, you know, and for what it's worth, guys. You know, listen, this is me. It's just my opinion you're getting.
Amazing. Thank you so much for giving us your 2 cents.